You open your eyes on the sand at Shell Cottage, and the first thing you hear is the sea. Then you hear Harry, not words. The specific sound of someone whose connection to a consciousness they cannot fully close off has just received something large and fast and frightening. He is sitting 3 feet away with his hand pressed against his scar and his eyes unfocused in the way they go, when Voldemort's mind pushes through the link without warning. You sit up. You wait. He says, he's checking them. All of them. Right now. He's scared. You say, tell me exactly what you saw. The images he describes are the images of a man doing a rapid inventory of the things he values most. High stone ceilings, the sound of rushing water, the specific visual quality of underground spaces lit by magical torches, mountains of gold receding into darkness. Gringotts, seen through Voldemort's eyes, and Voldemort in this moment is a man who has just understood that the people hunting his Horcruxes are closer than he believed. You think about what this tells you. You think about Voldemort's psychology, his contempt for others, and his admiration for specific bloodlines and specific institutions. The specific kind of pride that would require him to place his most important possessions in the keeping of people who represented the apex of his hierarchy, rather than in anonymous storage. 3 names at the top of that hierarchy: Malfoy, Snape, Lestrange. Malfoy has been compromised by failure and by the specific cost of hosting Voldemort in his house. Snape is mobile, in a position that exposes him to external contact and therefore to risk. Lestrange is the truest believer, the most dedicated, the one who has never wavered and whose vault is the most defended in the deepest part of the most secure bank in the magical world. Lestrange. You say it out loud. Hermione looks at you. Harry looks at you. You say, the Horcrux is in the Lestrange vault. Dobby and Creature return from the intelligence operation with the floor plan before you finish working through the secondary reasoning. The map is detailed in the way of information gathered from someone who was given sufficient incentive to be thorough. 3 deep vaults on 3 separate levels with their own access systems and their own defensive enchantments. You look at the map for 10 minutes. You build the operational structure in your mind, with the specific focus that comes from understanding that the margin for error in what you are planning is very small. Then you explain the plan. 3 groups, 3 simultaneous operations on 3 separate levels. You and Harry take the middle vault, which is Snape's, because you have a reason to go there that the others don't have, and because the middle level gives you the most positional flexibility if something goes wrong on either of the other levels. Ron and Lupin take the Malfoy vault on the upper level. Sirius and Hermione take the Lestrange vault on the lowest level, because Sirius knows the dark magic of the old families better than anyone else in the group, and the old families built their vaults with old family magic. Dobby and Creature remain invisible in the main hall. Emergency extraction. The single variable in the plan that exists outside the operational structure, because Dobby's ability to apparate in and out of spaces that resist apparition is the specific capability that makes this plan possible at all. The crumple-horned snorkack that Dobby brings into the main hall of Gringotts is larger than anything you imagined when you described what you needed to Dobby. And the specific chaos it produces is the chaos of a space encountering something it has no protocol for. Goblins scatter. Visitors scatter. The security formation dissolves into the specific disorder of people who are very well trained for the problems Gringotts normally faces and completely unprepared for this one. 40 seconds. You move through the gap in the cordon that the chaos creates, and you reach the key station before the duty goblins have finished processing what is happening in their bank. The 3 groups split at the cart platform, and the carts descend in 3 different directions, and the bank's interior swallows each group into its own specific darkness. The Snape vault is on the middle level, and it opens to the universal key without additional resistance. The door swings outward, and the vault breathes the specific air of a closed space that has been sealed for a long time, cool and dry, and carrying the faint smell of old paper and potions ingredients. The pensieve is on a stand in the center. The memory vials are beside it in a carved wooden box with no label on the lid. You pick up the box and look at it. You look at Harry beside you, the carved box of someone who collected and preserved things he could not share with anyone. You take 1 vial. You pour it into the pensieve together. The memory opens around you the way memories open in a pensive, fully and without the softening that distance normally provides. Spinner's End, a narrow street, 2 children, one of them a red-haired girl who has your mother's face, young and unguarded and entirely herself. The other, a dark-haired boy standing too close to her, in the specific way of someone who has built his entire sense of the world around a single person. Severus Snape. Watching Lily Evans the way some people watch the thing they are going to lose before they have lost it. You watch the memory through to its end. His love is not the comfortable, manageable feeling that gets described in songs. It is the love that reorganized every subsequent decision of his life and sat underneath everything he did for 30 years. The love that made him go to Dumbledore when Voldemort targeted the Potters. The love that kept him in the most dangerous position available to anyone on the side of the living. The love that you are looking at right now in the specific detail of a man's own recollection of the person he loved most. You come up out of the memory and back into the vault and the half-dark and the silence. You and Harry stand in the vault for a moment without speaking. You put the memory vials back exactly as you found them. You take nothing from the vault. The understanding is what you came for, and you have it. Though what you do with it is not something you can work out today. Today there is too much else. Then, the signal. You feel it before you hear it. The specific vibration of the cart rail system, carrying a message from the lower levels that has the quality of something moving faster than planned. 2 levels below you, in the deepest part of the bank, Bellatrix Lestrange and her Death Eaters have arrived to protect what they came to protect. Ron and Lupin emerge from the Malfoy vault level at the junction platform, with empty hands and grim faces. Nothing in the Malfoy vault means the Horcrux is where your original analysis said it was. Which is the good news? The bad news is that the group currently at the bottom of the bank is now between Bellatrix and the vault she came to protect. You do not explain the decision to anyone. You take the spare card at the junction and you go down. Fox form in a moving cart does not register on the tracking spells that Gringotts security uses, because the tracking spells are calibrated for human magical signatures, and a fox in a cart is neither human nor producing magic. You descend in the specific darkness of the bank's lower levels with a particular advantage of something that the environment does not know is there: the bottom platform. Bellatrix has Hermione and Sirius pinned against the Lestrange vault entrance with the confident positioning of someone who knows they have the numbers and the angle and is not in a hurry. 3 Death Eaters to her left, 2 to her right. Hermione has the cup. She has it, but she cannot move without exposing herself to the crossfire the formation creates. You come out of fox form in the space behind the left formation. The blasting curse is wandless and aimed at the loaded supply cart positioned against the wall behind them, and the cart's contents and the wall and 2 of the Death Eaters on the left go in the same direction simultaneously. Then you are inside the formation, and inside the formation is the only position where the formation cannot fire at you without firing at each other. Sirius moves the moment the left formation breaks. Hermione moves with him. The 3 of you reach the empty cart at the junction platform, and the cart begins its ascent, and the weight of what you just did to 3 people sits in your chest, with the specific weight of things done in the absence of any other option. Sirius is on the running board, standing, covering the retreat the way Sirius covers everything, completely and without visible calculation of what it costs him. His shields absorb 2 direct curses from Bellatrix's wand, and deflect a 3rd, and he is looking at you when she stops trying to hit you directly and changes the approach. The ceiling. Old dark family magic applied to stone that has been underground for centuries. The vault ceiling does not fall, it closes, drawn down by the enchantment the way water is drawn down a drain. The rock that follows is not rubble, it is deliberate, and it falls in the specific pattern of something that was told where to go. The ratchet on the cart hits the emergency release. The cart accelerates up the slope, and the last thing you see before the dust fills the view entirely is Sirius on the lower platform with the rock coming down. He looks at you. Not at the rock. Not at the Death Eaters. At you. He says, "Look after her." He says, "I am always with you both." Then the dust closes the view, and the cart is going up, and the sound from below is the sound of something very large settling permanently. And there is no sound from Sirius. Hermione is pressed against you in the cart with her eyes closed and her hand on your arm, and you keep your hand over hers for the entire ascent, and you do not speak. The cart hits the upper platform. Harry and Ron and Lupin are there, and the moment they see your faces, they understand what the faces mean. And Harry makes a sound that is not a word, and Lupin sits down on the platform with the specific heaviness of someone whose legs have made the decision without consulting the rest of him. And Ron stares at the tunnel you came out of with the expression of someone hoping the tunnel will produce something it will not produce. Dobby finds you where you stand. His small hands close around the wrists of whoever is nearest, and the bank disappears, and the kitchen of Grimmauld Place arrives, and the kitchen smells like Sirius, like the specific combination of things that a person leaves in the spaces they inhabit. And the smell is the worst thing about arriving back here, because it is the most precise evidence of the absence. His tactical notebooks are on the kitchen table, the maps he used to coordinate the Order's movements from the shadow of this house. His annotations in his handwriting, the specific shorthand he used for routes and contacts that you learned to read over 2 years. The book on combat magic on the shelf by the door, with his notes in the margins. The handwriting of someone who read to argue with what he was reading rather than to accept it. You pick up the book. You stand with it. You do not cry yet. You will cry later, in the specific private way that people cry when the crying is for something real rather than for the performance of grief. But later is not now. And now you have the cup of Hufflepuff in a bag, and a mission that Sirius Black died 2 levels underground to allow you to complete. And the completing of it is the thing you can do that sitting down and crying cannot accomplish. You put the book back. You sit at the table with Hermione and the notebooks and the cup of Hufflepuff in front of you, and you start working. The sword of Gryffindor is gone. The goblin grip hook took it during the chaos of the Gringotts operation, which you knew was a possibility and planned for insufficiently. The sword was the tool, and the tool is absent, and the absence of the tool is a problem that requires a solution. You and Hermione work through the theoretical literature on Horcrux destruction, the specific qualities required, the nature of the poison that unmakes the anchoring of a soul fragment in an object. The sword worked because it absorbed basilisk venom when Harry killed the basilisk with it in second year. Basilisk venom. You look at Hermione. She is already looking at you. You say, the chamber. She says, the fangs will still have venom. The snake has been dead for 5 years, but basilisk venom is magically stable almost indefinitely. You say, which means the Chamber of Secrets is an armory that has been sitting under Hogwarts this entire time. The second problem resolves itself in the same conversation. Harry has been sitting at the window while you worked, and he looks up and says, the diadem. Luna showed me the statue of Rowena Ravenclaw in the Ravenclaw common room. The diadem is on the statue, but I think I've seen the actual one. In the room of requirement, when I hid my potions textbook 6th year. You say, Voldemort hid it in the one place he was certain a student would never think to look deliberately. Harry says, which is the place all the students use to hide things they don't want found. The specific irony of this is the irony of Voldemort's consistent failure to understand the interior lives of ordinary people. His belief that what he considers useless is considered useless by everyone. The room of requirement is full of discarded things. Voldemort hid his Horcrux in a room full of discarded things and considered it perfectly concealed. The 3 objects assemble themselves in your mind. Locket, dun, cup, in hand, diadem, in Hogwarts, Nagini, still with Voldemort. You need the chamber. You need the room of requirement. Both are in Hogwarts. Hogwarts under Snape. Sealed and patrolled and watched with the specific thoroughness of someone who knows what he is watching for and why. You apparate to the outskirts of Hogsmeade because Hogsmeade is the access point that historical precedent suggests should have the least coverage, and historical precedent is wrong. The detection ward activates the moment you land, a perimeter alarm calibrated for unauthorized magical arrivals, regardless of concealment level, and the Death Eater response is fast in the way of a response that was prepared before the occasion requiring it. 90 seconds. You have 90 seconds before the street fills with people who will recognize Harry immediately. Lupin reads the tactical position the same moment you do. He has always been good at this, at the instantaneous assessment of a situation that has changed from what it was expected to be, at finding the one variable that can be acted on in the time available. He pulls the two-way mirror fragment from his coat pocket. The fragment of the mirror that Sirius gave him, that Sirius used to communicate across great distances, that Lupin has been carrying since the night Sirius died, because carrying it was the thing he could do when nothing else was available to him. He says a name into it. He presses the fragment into your hands. He looks at you with the eyes of someone who has already made the decision he is going to make and is not asking for approval of the decision. He says, "Go." He steps out into the street. The Death Eaters go toward the movement, and the movement is Lupin running, and you pull Hermione and Harry and Ron into the narrow gap of the alley, and the alley receives you, and a door in the side of a building opens, and a large hand reaches out and takes you all inside. The Hog's Head. The smell of old ale and stale air, and something underneath both of those things that is specific to a space that was once busy and is now mostly alone. Barrels against the wall, a bar that nobody has polished recently. And behind the bar, a man who is tall and old and has the cold blue eyes of someone who decided a long time ago how much warmth they were willing to make available to the world and has not revised the decision since. He looks at Harry for a long time. You look at him. His face has the specific features of a family, in the jaw and the nose and the positioning of the eyes, features you recognize from a man who is dead and from a man who is not, and from the photographs in Dumbledore's office that you studied, with the specific attention of someone who understood that the photographs contained information and the information was important. In Aberforth Dumbledore, he says, "I know why you're here." He says it without warmth, without welcome, with the specific flatness of someone who has been expecting something for a long time and is not glad it has arrived. You think about his brother, about the notebooks and the encoded messages and the specific way Albus distributed what he knew among the people he trusted, with a precision that you are still working out the full dimensions of. You think about what it means that this man is in this building adjacent to this village at the base of the school that his brother built and maintained for 50 years. You think about the fragment of mirror in your hand, about the name that Lupin said into it, about who would answer on the other side of that connection from inside a building in Hogsmeade. You say, "Then you know we don't have much time." He looks at you. He looks at you with those cold blue eyes that are his brother's eyes, in a face that did not make the same choices as his brother and has lived with that difference for decades, and you watch him sit with whatever the looking costs him, and you wait. Some conversations go the way they go. You have learned this the hard way across 7 years of situations that required other people to make decisions you could not make for them. You can lay out the argument. You can make the case. You can be precise and clear and present all the information that is available, but the deciding is his. Behind you somewhere in the village, the sounds of a search that will not find what it is looking for are moving through the streets, and above you, the castle sits on its hill in the winter dark, full of people you know and people who are hunting the same people you are, and a dead basilisk in a chamber beneath the plumbing whose fangs are the thing that changes the arithmetic of everything. Aberforth looks at you. He says, "There's a way in." He says it like a man letting go of something he has been holding for a long time. And in the specific quality of his exhale, you hear the entire weight of what it costs a person to choose the side they spent years arguing against. That is what it means to be the one who finds the gaps and moves through them before they close. You spend the year in basements and vaults and frozen forests and the abandoned rooms of institutions that have stopped being what they were. You lose people in the gaps that close too fast. You carry what they leave you, and you keep moving, because the mission does not pause for grief, and grief does not pause for the mission. And you have learned to carry both simultaneously, which is the hardest thing you have ever learned to do. Sirius is gone. The cup is in your bag, the castle is above you, and the last chapter is beginning. Subscribe, because Hogwarts is the final stop, and the final stop is where everything either ends or doesn't.